Hi everybody, hi Tamar. Welcome to our breakdown video about Tywin Lannister. Tywin motherfucking Lannister. The strongest and most influential person of his time.
I always liked him. It's
Really?
a character. I don't know him personally, no, but...
And he died at the end of Storm of Swords in season 4. So now that some time has passed,
Now we have a perspective,
right?
so we can judge his character in historical political context,
Right.
like his place in history.
In the books, he's always far away and you don't know what he's thinking, but in the show we got to see more of him. So now we know his inner workings and why he did some of the stuff that he did. He did some awful stuff. He was ruthless,
Yeah.
super smart.
Basically, in my opinion, Realpolitik. It means this is the tools I was given,
Right.
this is the cards I can play with, and I will do my best to win the game.
Right.
And if that means that I need to do like immoral stuff, that's part of the game. I need to do it because
Right.
the end justifies the means, in that sense.
It's basically dispassionate decision making.
Exactly.
And if winning the game for you doesn't have to be that you're the king.
Yeah.
You can be Realpolitik and become just a lord. That's fine. That's also
Yeah.
winning the game because of the hand that you were dealt.
Yeah. Ideology doesn't play a big part in your political calculation. You don't like, I want to do that because it's wrong.
No, because you're looking at your end goal. At your
Exactly.
end. Okay, so
So
let's
we
break
was
it
like
down. Let's dig deeper. And let's be Tywin apologists. Let's see some of the horrible things that he's done and see if we can explain them in a Realpolitik perspective. So the first evil thing that he did was the sack of King's Landing that ended Robert's rebellion.
You forgot about the Castameres.
Who?
Exactly. Like an old house, like this his father.
Right.
And
And they were bannermen. They were Lannister bannermen.
And Tywin, one of his first political decisions was to achieve political capital. Because he knew, this is the name of the family, I will create a political capital for myself, even though it means I need to destroy another house.
And he didn't want to destroy them because he was hurt or because he was evil. It was a political decision.
Yeah, the brand's name was hurt. He wanted to show who's boss, and there is a new player in town.
Right.
And this player is strong.
Don't diss this player.
Exactly. So, created a lot of political capital for him.
Okay, so the sack of King's Landing. Sacking of a city is a very violent affair. Like, people focus on the fact that he killed all the Targaryens, even the babies. We're going to get to that. But first, just common people who didn't have a bone in this fight, a dog in this fight, butchered, raped, sodomized, mutilated, raped again. Some of them were raped twice.
For sure. It was evil, right? But it's part of the game. Politically, it's wise when you're part of a coup to be on the winning side and to destroy the remnants of the
You have
old
to
regime.
prove your fealty and your usefulness to the new regime, to Robert.
So that was a Realpolitik move, destroying King's Landing and sacking it.
It wasn't being sadistic.
It wasn't been to the, I don't think he enjoyed it and was like, yeah, sack the city,
Yeah,
so,
but he did.
sack.
But he did send the mountain to do some horrible things to the Targaryens.
That
So
had to be done.
he had to rape her.
Collateral damage, unfortunately.
But what about the Red Wedding? That was horrible, horrible, horrible. You have to do the David Star of David, or the 7-pointed star.
No, but in terms of Realpolitik, it is justified. Come on, he gave the best answer to Tyrion. He said, okay, so I won't kill them in the Red Wedding. They will gather up the army, create alliances with the Freys, and then instead of 2,000 people that died that night or something like that, 20,000 people would have died. And Robb was on his way to Castle Rock. So that was self-defense as well. You had to win.
Okay.
It's a zero-sum game.
Also, the main reason that we see the Red Wedding as this horrible event is because we see the story from the point of view of the Starks.
Right.
But if the story was about Tywin, all this, like, he was the main character, and you could see that he didn't do it happily, but he felt that it had to be done, and the Starks were these faraway characters that we don't really know. would have said it's fine.
Or on the other way around, if Rob would have schemed something like that, and
Against
the
a
Lannisters,
hated character, right?
yeah,
hated
we would have
house.
applauded him. Yeah, oh, this kid is smart.
Right, he couldn't trust the phrase because the phrase betrayed him in some
Exactly.
way, so now he will kill them in
Yeah.
order to show everybody, you don't betray me.
Yeah, smart move, Rob.
Okay, so let's look to history a little bit. Do you see any historical character that you think is similar to Tywin?
Bismarck,
Bismarck?
Otto von Bismarck.
Otto?
Otto von, yeah. Otto von. He was a chancellor, which is like a prime minister. He's a prime minister of Prussia.
Right,
He
back
was
in the day,
back in the
19th
day.
century.
He had a goal, a political goal, to unite the German principalities and kingdoms into one German national state
Right.
under Prussian rule.
Right.
And in order to do it, he did a lot of scheming and divide and conquer and like created all this tension in order for him to come and to be
Right.
the protector of the German people and stuff like that.
But after he won, he didn't pursue his former enemies and just to destroy everybody. He said, okay, now we're
No.
together and you're going to enjoy the same privileges as the other lords.
Exactly. And in terms of his place in the hierarchy in the German Empire and in
Okay.
Prussia, he was basically under the king of Prussia, and later the
So he
first
was the
emperor.
hand of the king.
So he was the hand of the king, and even though his place in the political hierarchy was below the king /
Okay.
emperor, he was the de facto ruler.
So we discussed a little bit on our channel the concept of the Leviathan,
Yeah.
like one institution, one strong person that allows the country to be ruled and minimizes strifes because everybody knows that this is on top. So
Yeah.
you could say that maybe Tywin was the Leviathan that held the realm together.
I would say it wasn't the Leviathan, but maybe the ultimate proof why you need a Leviathan. Because medieval politics is very much like mobsters' geopolitics.
And mob families.
And
right?
mob families.
Right.
Like it's us against them. It's a zero-sum game. You have this strong boss, but the moment this strong figure goes away, and let's say his son, his stupid son, replaces him, you have civil war,
Right.
and a war between the gangs, and then another strong figure comes and takes control.
Okay. So let's write a new history. Let's say Tywin would not have died. So let's write a new history. Let's do a bold prediction that you will never be able to check if it's correct or not.
Retrospective prediction.
Right. Let's say Tywin was still alive.
Yes.
So King's Landing, as we see it now after season 6, it has fallen apart. The Faith and the Faith Militants and the High Sparrow and the Tyrells and everybody's
And
fighting
Dorne.
everybody. So he would have been able to hold King's Landing probably together. Like he wouldn't have given the High Sparrow guns.
Bismarck saw the socialists in his country and liberals in his country shouting, for more rights and labor laws and etc. etc. And instead of fighting them, he realized that there could be a huge cost, politically,
cost, because they would have maybe revolted.
Exactly, and he created basically maybe the
Social
first
state,
welfare
state.
the first welfare state in Europe.
He banned child labor, I think, right? And like you could work only a certain amount of hours, and there are extra hours.
Paid leave, I think, and stuff like that. Maybe we will say, okay, this High Sparrow, he was appointed by this movement, social movement. I can fight it and spend a lot of my political capital.
Right.
For no reason except, ego or personal beliefs. Instead of the High Sparrow telling Tommen the crown and the face, he will tell the Sparrow the crown and the face. I will give you some,
some rights, whatever.
Exactly.
Protection, more protection,
and would have avoided this civil war and rebellion.
And he wouldn't have fought with the Tyrells. He would have kept the Tyrells close, real close, because he knew that the Lannisters needed the Tyrells.
Exactly.
And in the show, we see the Boltons betraying the Lannisters and marrying Sansa. That would never have happened. Nobody would have dared defy Tywin that way. So the realm would have been kept together. And it's safe to assume that things would have been better, because when Tywin ruled with the Mad King, and later behind the scenes with Robert, those were kind of golden ages of that time. He did kind of have a blind spot for the fantasy elements of the story. He didn't believe that there are dragons and White Walkers and stuff like that because he's realpolitik.
Exactly.
Dragons is not part of the game, but you can assume that had he learned that there are White Walkers and dragons, he could have prepared the realm to protect it against those crazy beasts from another world.
Now the realm will be much more prepared to handle this true crisis. But his biggest blind spot was his family.
Right.
With his family, he wasn't realpolitik.
It was the polar opposite of
the realpolitik. He had unrealistic expectations from his kids.
So here he did come from a place of ego, and he was in a kind of competition with them. You can't be like me.
Exactly.
Right? I'm the top dog always, and you will never be like me even after I die. I think Cersei tells him, you are all about legacy and you're all about house and family, but you're in love with the idea. It's like an ideology of family, but you are blind to the reality.
And that was his downfall.
Okay, so let's write another alternative history. Let's say that Tywin wasn't like that, and let's say he would have handled his family the same way he handles his political business outside of his family, being smart and calculating.
Yeah, he should have taken another wife the minute his first wife died. And being realpolitik, he will say something like that, okay, my elder son is now king's guard, so
he can inherit?
Ineligible.
Okay.
Ineligible.
To rule.
His other son was like a deformed, you know, it's hurting the
unpopular.
Right. It's hurting the brand, and you know, so he would have gotten married with a younger girl.
So he can have a few more children.
A few more children,
and maybe they would have inherited.
Exactly, 28 years later, he will now have an heir to Castle Rock, or maybe even the kingdom itself.
Right, and he also would have handled Tyrion differently, because even though Tyrion is deformed, whatever, Tyrion is smart, Tyrion is kind, he's an effective ruler, so he would have promoted him in some way to make use of him, because he didn't make enough use of him. And I think he would have handled Cersei differently and managed her had he really saw her for what she was, a crazy, stupid person that you cannot trust and you need to hold on a tight leash.
Exactly.
Because part of ruling is managing your own house, and your children are part of the political game.
In political philosophy, the family is the first original political unit.
Right, so he should have managed them the same way he managed the realm when he was hand and the Western lands, whatever, and playing and using them as pawns.
Yeah, this is the card that was dealt. A midget son, two twins that they have their own ambitions or whatever.
And they wouldn't have fornicated had he been smart about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your bottom line on Tywin? After all this, politically, historically, how do you see his place in history?
He wasn't this conqueror, but in his own realm, in his own realpolitik playground, he was the best of his generation.
And how much the realm missed him after he died.
Yeah.
They didn't know that at the time, but sometimes you have to lose something in order to know what you had.
Story of my life.
Tywin. I think there's another bottom line for Tywin, and it is never involve the second generation in the family business. This is the reason that our children will never inherit this channel. Never. So if you have a different view of Tywin's place in the history of the Seven Kingdoms, be sure to mention in the comments, and be sure also to like this video if you indeed enjoy it. And if you want to support our channel, there's a link in the description to our Patreon page, or you can just go to patreon.com/GoT Academy. You can sponsor us there and help us make this channel sustainable, and also get a few extra videos only for patrons. And here's a bunch of videos that we made that you might not have seen, and we'll see you all next time. Bye everybody.